I always felt so lucky that I had the good fortune to be born here.
The things that make other people who come here to visit decide that they don't want to go back where they came from, that's what makes me love New Orleans.
There's no other city like this in the United States.
I think we have the best architecture in the country.
It is amazing to see the houses that have just been here for decades, if not centuries.
We have the best food.
It represents a blending of cultures from Haiti, Sicilian cultures, Africa, Native American. So we have everything here right at our front door every day of the week. It's nothing special, it's how we live.
We don't have to ever repeat a meal in New Orleans. There's that much to choose from.
We have the best music in the world.
Other artists come down to get our vibe.
I've never lived anywhere where there's so much going on.
Aside from everything else, I love the people the most.
The people are very welcoming.
They'll have you over, get you drunk. They don't want anything from you. They just want to share their culture.
This city brings to us, though, so much more than any other city in the United States.
Would I ever leave New Orleans? No. No, this is home. This is where I want to be.
This is NOLA Uncovered, a series that features the architecture, food, and music of one of the most unique cities in the world. In this episode, we'll look at the uptown home of Brian Francher and Daniel Brockhoff, where they will host a backyard party with food prepared by Dan and music performed by the Sharon Martin Band. So sit back and enjoy a taste of New Orleans. The architecture of New Orleans is as interesting as the city itself. Living in the French Quarter feels much like living in Europe, with homes as old as the city.
Our architecture is a representation of our history. We talk about the French Quarter, but the architecture is actually a reflection of what the Spaniards have done for us.
What doesn't get talked about a lot is so many of those structures and so much of that wrought iron was created by Africans. Whether they were enslaved people or free people of color, they had a lot to do with what we still know as the French Quarter to this day.
But other historic homes can be found along Esplanade Avenue and in neighborhoods like Marigny, Treme, Old Algiers, and most notably along St. Charles Avenue, also known as Uptown. 2 blocks off St. Charles on Valmont Street is the 19th century home of Brian Francher and Daniel Brockhoff.
Yeah, I bought it 5 years ago. The moment I walked in, I said, this is going to be my house. And it was a bidding war because of location, and I didn't win the bidding war, somebody else did. And then a couple days later, the first people backed out, and I looked out and I got it. But when I looked at it, I thought, it checked all the boxes. It's all on one level. It's in a good neighborhood. It's got a guest house. I looked at the yard for my dogs. I said, this checks that box. So I just said, this is going to be my house. And luckily it happened. This house is just the right size. We use every room. It's all on one level, which is great. The location, the backyard is big. That's what I liked. And the light, it's a happy house, you know. It's a center hall cottage modified with Louisiana French colonial elements, which made it simplified on the front, which I love. This is the living room. It has 12-foot ceilings with crown molding, beautiful tall doors. You've got built-in bookcases and beautiful pine floors. Lots of cross light. It moves right into that room, which used to be the porch. Someone enclosed and made a beautiful dining room that overlooks the big yard. So we love that room too. We use every room a lot. The kitchen's always a big selling point, I think, to most clients being in the real estate business. Kitchen is the heart of the home. It's where everybody feels comfortable. When they come over to visit, I always say put your best artwork in the kitchen because that's where they're going to be.
This huge thing is from Prague, and it's actually carved on the reverse of floor linoleum. And it is telling the story of some Prague fairy tale that has to do with, death. So it's not the happiest thing, but it's pretty.
The kitchen is big and has lots of light. It's got a breakfast area, so I love that. It's happy. We used to have 3 bedrooms. We took 2 bedrooms and made it 1 bedroom, so we had a nice sized bedroom instead of 2 small bedrooms. It's a little bigger than I want, but when they were divided, they were too small. We're big guys. We've got dogs, so anyways. This house has really good flow. So it's great for entertaining with the outside and the inside. We think it was built in the later part of the 19th century, and then it was modified with the French colonial Louisiana elements in the early part of the 20th century, and then modified and renovated since then. Morgan Whitney lived here, who was the grandson of the Whitney National Bank, local national bank. And he lived here, and he was Rex. He was King of Carnival in 1967. The Queen of Carnival from 1967 is still alive, and she's lovely. She came here for lots of parties. Also, the Sears heirs owned this house at one time. So it has a really fun New Orleans history to it. We've enjoyed the garden and the yard because it's big, and we called it Victory Gardens because we have grapefruits back there, we have lemons back there, we have bay leaves, we have pomegranates, beautiful flowers. It's great for entertaining. We're there every day, enjoying it with our dogs. We love it. My best friend, Joel Dyer, who's the artist who did much of this art in the house, including the ceiling, he lives in the guest house.
We do have an artist living in our backyard. That has its pluses and minuses.
He painted the ceiling to be the 4 empires of Europe for another client, and it was painted on canvas, and they put it up there and glued it up there kind of like wallpaper.
If you really look at it closely, the background of that is actually a map of Europe. It was done on canvas. Anything I do on a ceiling now is done on canvas. I don't do this anymore. Michelangelo, that's cute, but I'm not doing it.
So when she moved out of her house, she took it off, and I got it, and we put it up here, and it just by coincidence happened to match our colors. So it's like it was destined to be here. He's extremely interesting. He's self-taught.
Mercury is the messenger of the gods, and in this particular painting, he overslept, and he's scrambling to get his winged sandals on so he can get to work. The sun's coming up, and so the name of the painting is Mercury Will Be Late Today.
He really is amazing. I mean, he's a whole show all by himself.
He's one of the funnest, most creative people you'll ever meet, most talented people you'll ever meet. I mean, he's a great artist. He's a great interior designer. He's somebody you want around for entertainment. I mean, he's always got something new. He sees the world differently, and he's special in many ways.
Besides artwork, they have also collected antiques from around the world.
I had a good friend who owned an antique store on Royal Street, and he would bring me to Europe for when he went buying for antiques. And I would help him, but I would also buy for myself. So I got to collect a lot of beautiful things going to Europe with him year after year after year. And also I bought some things from New Orleans auction, some things I bought at estate sales. So I'm naturally, my first major was architecture, my second major is psychology. I sell real estate. I love interiors. I love furnishings. I love architecture. So it's the perfect business for me. I love it.
It's a serene life, full of Southern pleasures. World-class cuisine is abundant in New Orleans. Whether it's prestige dining like Antoine's or Galatoire's, or neighborhood eateries like Dookie Chase and Lauz's by the track, great meals can be found throughout the city.
Oh my God, the food, Jesus. It's amazing, the food.
As different immigrant groups settled here, they brought their own recipes, but using indigenous ingredients.
The different cultures that settled here were able to make the great food that they did because there was so much available that was similar to the cultures that they had wherever they came from.
We embrace additional influences, and it is in those combinations of culinary techniques and traditions that we create this food that in New Orleans is, I guess, taken for granted.
It's so distinctive and so flavorful.
I think our seafood is amazing because of the alluvial soil for our seafood. And so people say, well, we got fish and we got shrimp and we seasoned it. Yeah, but where did it come from? If it didn't come from our waters, then it's going to taste differently. So our food is very special to us.
I love the food here. After I came here, I took it for granted. And then when I started working on the road, I realized that there's a lot of places in the United States really could use a little help on the food. God bless Crystal Sauce.
We fashion ourselves to be amateur foodies. My husband has perfected his jambalaya recipe to French chef kiss level. And now that's our love language, is literally passing out containers of jambalaya. It's our calling card from the Schomburg household. And we go brown, we don't go red.
Though Dan works in the hotel industry, he enjoys a culinary background.
I'm a New Orleans mutt. I'm half Sicilian, I'm half German. Mother's family Castellano, father's family Brockhoff. And so I grew up, you know, in a family that my mother was such an incredible cook that there was always great food. Even though, you know, we didn't have a lot of money, but we always had great food. And that's really what, you know, kind of got me started on cooking, because I just really kind of got that spark from her. When I did my internship at Commanders, I worked under Jamie Shannon, who was the executive chef there. He was a great influence. I had the great opportunity to work with Paul Prudhomme. He was a great influence. And then, of course, the amazing Julia Child, who I had the amazing opportunity to work with, you know, trailblazers.
For the party this evening, he prepared a cold chicken and pasta dish.
This is the chicken chapatulas that we'll be mixing up for about 150 people in this very large bathtub container. So it is basically a cold pasta salad. So first goes in some cold pasta, and then next goes in some beautiful marinated grilled chicken breast. And so the chicken breast has been marinated with some lemon pepper seasoning and some seasoned salt, and they get a beautiful color from some paprika. So in goes chicken. Then next we have the Mardi Gras colors, purple, green, and gold. Those go in. This is the red cabbage. Okay, that's probably enough. This is yellow summer squash. Okay. Here is some zucchini, some green. Okay, a little more green with some chopped up green onions. That's probably good. Then we get into the exotics, which will be some hearts of palm. Hearts of palm. Then we wrap up with the marinated artichoke hearts, and it's the juice of the marinated artichoke hearts, which is really the magical thing that binds it all together. I think one more. Alrighty. We finish up with fire roasted red peppers. So let's put in about that much. Okay. And then we start the mixing. So it's just tossing and mix. I could use my hands, but it's a little safer just to use these. I've probably made enough to mix together for about 150 people. I always make way too much. I get that from my mother. So then at this point, I look at it and I think, you know, what else, you know, does it look right? Is the color good? And I'm thinking it might need a little more on fire roasted peppers, so a little of that goes in. And I think I'm good on everything else. So just kind of mix that in a little more. Okay, a little tasting to make sure the seasoning is good. I think it's right where it needs to be. You don't want it too salty, you don't want it too spicy. It's a cold salad, it's hearty. the marinated artichoke hearts with all that wonderful olive oil and vinegar. Give it just the right amount of seasoning that it needs. Plus there's some seasoning on the grilled chicken that adds just the right amount of salty, spicy. So good to go. That's it.
For dessert, Dan will prepare his own style of bread pudding right before the party begins. Music and New Orleans are forever linked, probably because it is the birthplace of jazz.
Music is our ground base in New Orleans.
This city's spirit is music.
This is a town that entertains.
Our music is a lot of who we are.
It is so deeply ingrained in the culture of the city that most local artists started their musical journey as children.
Music was just something that we enjoyed as children.
There's a reason we see kids playing trumpets and trombones walking down their sidewalks, because New Orleans embraces that. We want every young person to be a musician.
I'm 65 now. I started my first gig when I was about 10 years old. I was doing church music.
I've been playing for a long time, since I was like, what, 7?
For me, it's almost like it's a natural thing. Music is a wonderful thing. It is. And I love it. I've been doing it all my life, one form or the other.
The city embraces its music with an abundance of year-round nightclubs and bars showcasing local bands.
I can go to a club and experience live music almost every night of the week.
If I didn't learn how to say no to people, I'd be busy 7 nights a week.
Sharon Martin plays at various venues throughout the city.
I like R&B because I like to dance. And the guys that I work with are guys who have been in the music business for a long time.
Her husband, Michael Woods, plays upright bass and performs with her at jazz venues.
I played with Sharon and here in New Orleans Jazz Fest. I did the play with her, the Billie Holiday at Emerson's Bar and Grill.
The rest of her band performs with her at parties, clubs, and events, and have been for years.
The band that I generally work with is a band that consists of guys who are really tops in their field of R&B music.
I knew Sharon from playing before. She was with a group called Walter Payton and the Snap Bean Band, and I used to sit in with them every now and then.
The bass player and the drummer, I've been working with them for about 20-some odd years now, I think they told me.
Oh, God. I've been with Sharon probably 30 years, 25, 30 years. I know she's probably saying, look, I ain't that old, but you know what? We've been in the game a long time.
I'm not good at keeping up with times.
I've done a lot through music and playing drums through the years with a lot of different people, a lot of different artists, and I can actually say I've been blessed.
Music's been good to me.
I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world. Nothing in the world.
Once I get on the gig, I'm ready to play, and we enjoy playing.
Another characteristic of New Orleans is the summer heat. So before the party begins, air-conditioned tents have been assembled in the backyard.
All right, we're gonna do the second line early in the game, right? Let's ride down, oh, fly down to New Orleans. That city, oh so pretty. What? Historic scenes. I'll take you, come on, and work with you down over Bourbon Street.
Other places they have fun and all that stuff, but New Orleans goes out for the party. I mean, we do it well.
It is really hard to argue with the fact that there are few places in the world that are as much fun to live in as good old New Orleans.
Let's give the drummer and the bass player some. Put your hands together like this, y'all. Anthony Hamilton, Shannon Hamilton, y'all.
There's nothing like New Orleans. I mean, it's like a proverbial gumbo that's been simmering for over 300 years.
Our sense of culture that folks flock to our city to experience, we live it every day.
There's always something to do. There's always people to meet. You can't be shy in this city.
Music, food, wine, arts, entertainment, lively, friendly. Everybody's friendly.
It's a comfort level when you talk to somebody from New Orleans. It's like you've known them for a long time.
Everyone just kind of believes in everyone else and kind of lets everyone be themselves.
It's a party town. I mean, there's no question about that.
The sense of humor of New Orleanians. We can make lemonade out of lemons, willing to laugh, have a dark sense of humor.
We're such a unique community as far as the diversity.
We have this fusion of cultures here in New Orleans that is just the way we live.
It's a fabric that you can't find anywhere else.
Every weekend there's 3 things to choose from that are great.
It's more than just like, you know, the Bourbon Street thing.
I have the privilege of being from a city that other folks can come and visit, but I live this life every day.
What's always interesting to me about New Orleans too is people will move away, but they almost always come back.
Every time I left, I wanted to come back, so we found a way, my husband and I, to come back.
Something about New Orleans whispers to you from afar when you want to come home.
Here, you can go home.
Just every time you come and you get off the plane, it's like your heart just goes, I'm home.
It's like you can breathe again.
It's like that ex-girlfriend or boyfriend you just cannot shake.
Yeah, it's a great place to be.
It's just not like any other place that there is.
It's home.
Ain't no place like New Orleans. Bar none. I guarantee you. I'm telling you. You know, it's for real.
This is why we love New Orleans.